Have you ever heard of a king so hated that his people tried to erase him from history itself? Today, we're diving into the mystery of Akhenaten, ancient Egypt's most controversial pharaoh. His story is a wild ride of revolution, power struggles, and a legacy that was almost lost forever. So what did he do that was so terrible? His successors tried to pretend he never even existed. Let's find out. Imagine ancient Egypt, a land of pyramids, mighty gods, and centuries of tradition. Then, in the 14th century BCE, a new pharaoh comes to power. He starts his reign as Amenhotep IV, but he's not like the pharaohs before him. He has a radical, game-changing idea that will shake the very foundations of Egyptian society. This pharaoh, who would soon rename himself Akhenaten, decided that the hundreds of gods worshipped for millennia were no longer relevant. He declared there was only one true god, the aten, represented as the disk of the sun. This wasn't just a minor change. It was a full-blown religious revolution. He essentially switched the entire country from polytheism, the worship of many gods, to a form of monotheism, the worship of one god. This was a huge deal. For centuries, Egyptian life revolved around a complex pantheon of deities like Ra, Osiris, and Isis. The most powerful of them all was Amun-Ra, the king of the gods. An incredibly wealthy and influential priesthood served Amun-Ra, and they held immense political power, almost rivaling the pharaoh himself. When Akhenaten declared the aten as the one and only god, he wasn't just changing people's beliefs. He was directly attacking the power structure of Egypt. He shut down the temples dedicated to Amun-Ra and other gods, and he redirected their vast wealth and revenues to the cult of the aten. This move effectively sidelined the powerful Amun priesthood, stripping them of their influence and riches overnight. As you can imagine, they were not happy about it. But Akhenaten didn't stop there. To truly break from the past, he abandoned the traditional capital city of Thebes, the heart of the Amun cult. He built an entirely new city from scratch in the middle of the desert, a place we now call Amarna. He named it Akhetaten, which means horizon of the aten. This new city was dedicated solely to his god. Everything, from the architecture to the art, was a celebration of the aten. Speaking of art, the Amarna period, as it's now known, produced some of the most unique and strange art in all of Egyptian history. Before Akhenaten, pharaohs were always depicted as perfect, muscular, godlike figures. But the art from Akhetaten was different. It showed Akhenaten and his famous queen Nefertiti with elongated heads, slender necks, and pronounced bellies. Their family life was depicted with a startling intimacy and realism. We see them kissing their children, mourning, and sharing quiet moments. It was a radical departure from the stiff, formal art of the past, showing a more human, almost vulnerable side to the royal family. So, on one hand, you have this visionary pharaoh, a revolutionary thinker who introduced a new religion and a stunning new art style. But on the other hand, his reforms were deeply unsettling for the average Egyptian. Think about it. Your entire worldview, the gods your ancestors have prayed to for generations, suddenly declared false. The familiar rituals and festivals, all gone. The temples, once the center of community life, now closed. For many, this must have been a confusing and frightening time. While Akhenaten was consumed by his religious revolution, it seems he let other kingly duties slide. Evidence suggests he largely ignored foreign policy. Letters discovered at Amarna, known as the Amarna Letters, show desperate pleas from vassal states in the Near East, begging for military support against invading forces. Akhenaten seems to have ignored most of them. His focus was inward, on his new religion and his new city, while Egypt's empire abroad began to crumble. This neglect weakened Egypt's international standing and likely caused a lot of discontent among the military and political elite. Akhenaten's reign lasted about 17 years. After his death, the entire experiment collapsed almost immediately. The exact circumstances of his death are a mystery, but what happened next is crystal clear. His successors, most famously the boy king Tutankhamun, who was likely his son, began the process of undoing everything Akhenaten had done. Tutankhamun, who was originally named Tutankhaten, changed his name to signal his return to the old gods. He abandoned the city of Akhetaten, leaving it to decay in the desert, and moved the capital back to Thebes. The temples of Amun-Re were reopened, their wealth was restored, and the old priesthood was brought back into power. It was a complete and total reversal of Akhenaten's policies. But it wasn't enough to just go back to the old ways. The new regime wanted to make sure no one like Akhenaten could ever rise again. They initiated a campaign to literally erase him from memory. The Romans had a term for this: damnatio memoriae, the condemnation of memory. Akhenaten's name and image were systematically chiseled off monuments and temple walls. Statues of him were smashed to pieces. His new city, Akhetaten, was dismantled, its stone blocks reused in other building projects. On official king lists compiled by later pharaohs, his name and the names of his immediate successors, like Tutankhamun, were simply omitted. It was as if his entire reign had never happened. He was branded the enemy, or that criminal, in later inscriptions. The goal was to wipe every trace of the heretic pharaoh from the historical record. So why such an extreme reaction? There were a few key motivations. First and foremost was religious restoration. Akhenaten's monotheism was seen as a dangerous heresy that had angered the gods and thrown the cosmic order, or mat, into chaos. Restoring the traditional pantheon was seen as essential to stabilizing the country and appeasing the gods. Second, it was all about political power. By erasing Akhenaten, the elites, especially the Aman priesthood, were erasing the man who had challenged their authority and wealth. It was a powerful message to any future ruler who might consider similar radical reforms. They were reasserting their control and ensuring their position at the heart of Egyptian society. And finally, it was a move to promote national unity. Akhenaten's policies had been deeply divisive. His revolution had alienated the priesthood, the military, and likely a large portion of the general population. Erasing his memory was a way to heal these divisions, to paper over this uncomfortable chapter, and to restore a sense of continuity with Egypt's long and glorious past. For nearly 3,000 years, they were successful. Akhenaten was almost completely forgotten. He became a ghost in Egyptian history. But nothing stays buried forever, especially in Egypt. In the 19th century, archaeologists began excavating the ruins of a mysterious, abandoned city in the desert, Akhetaten, or Amarna. As they uncovered the city, they found a treasure trove of art, inscriptions, and artifacts that told the story of a lost pharaoh and his strange new religion. They began to piece together the puzzle of this revolutionary king who had been so thoroughly condemned. The rediscovery of Akhenaten has fascinated the modern world ever since. He's been called the first individual in history, a visionary genius ahead of his time, a romantic idealist, and a tyrannical fanatic. His story resonates because it's a timeless tale of the struggle between tradition and revolution, between old power structures and radical new ideas. Ironically, the very attempt to erase Akhenaten from history is what makes his story so captivating to us today. The empty spaces on temple walls where his name used to be, the smashed statues, the abandoned city, they all scream out his name louder than any intact inscription ever could. The campaign to make him forgotten has ensured he will always be remembered. Akhenaten's legacy is a powerful reminder of how history is written and rewritten by the victors. It shows us that even the most absolute power is fragile, and that challenging deeply entrenched beliefs can have explosive consequences. He is the pharaoh who is remembered precisely because everyone tried to forget him. His story isn't just a dusty chapter from ancient Egypt. It's a timeless drama about power, faith, and the fight for a legacy. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into one of history's greatest mysteries. If you enjoyed this, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next adventure into the past. See you next time.